Hey, welcome to everyone to Unshakable. Great to have you with us again this evening. We've got Steve and Rachel Mawstons. Round of applause.
Hi everyone.
But we've got them with us tonight, and we just want to get to know them a bit better. Steve and Rachel are both speaking on some of our podcasts or online churches coming up in the next few weeks. So we thought it'd be great to meet them here tonight. So welcome to you guys, all the way from sunny Norwich.
Hey.
So
it is a bit sunny today.
It's a beautiful day. Good weekend coming up apparently, but you can't go any further than your garden.
We will be in that garden, trust me.
We will be. We're going to have it's our wedding anniversary actually tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
It's going to be 27 years tomorrow. So we're going to have tea and scones in the garden.
Yeah.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Our big afternoon out.
Yeah.
Tell us, how did you guys meet then? 27 years, that's a while ago. You must be very young.
Well, we met at a youth camp. It's very spiritual. Actually, Steve became a Christian at that camp.
Yeah, I was 13. My dad essentially conned me. I thought it was a youth camp with sport and barbecues. Came down as a church youth camp.
Mm.
And my life was transformed in two ways. Number one, I got radically saved. Number two, I saw this girl playing table tennis, Steve.
12.
Table tennis.
Don't mention that.
All right, well, we might talk about that later, but that's where I first saw Rachel and instantly fell in love with her. Now, that was at 13. Now, we probably
It took
went
me a while to catch on.
like 10 years. I chased her for 10 years. She dumped me about 3 times, but I finally...
We were pen pals for a while, weren't we?
Remember that? Writing letters to each other?
Letters, yeah.
Lots of letters. And then I went up north to study physiotherapy at Teesside, and Steve went down to London to go to London Bible College, and we met up again, didn't we? His mum was in hospital at North Tees Hospital, and I was a physio on the ward. Steve came in to visit his mum.
And I had lunch with her.
Yes.
Now, at the time, I was going out with another girl in London. But
I didn't like it.
as soon as I saw Rachel, I fell back in love.
Wow.
And then she didn't like the fact that someone else wanted to marry me. So all of a sudden, she got interested. But anyway.
And then we went with not YWAM, was it OM, Operation Mobilization, on a mission. And we kind of started dating properly there. It was on the roof of the YMCA in Berlin. We're kind of like, will you be my girlfriend?
It's a beautiful spot.
We had our first sneaky kiss because you weren't allowed to date on those missions.
Anyway, that's us.
Yeah.
Where did you get married? Because you're from Norwich, you're from Teesside. Where did you get married?
Yeah, we got married
Norwich.
in Norwich, in the church here. Back in the day, it used to be called Mount Zion International Glory Fellowship.
It did.
There you go. So
Yeah.
a very special name.
My granddad married us.
Yeah.
Wow.
And yeah, it was we got married on a Sunday.
Did you?
So it was Sunday morning church, because we wanted the whole church to be part of it.
And then we had after our
crazy.
reception, we had another meeting on the Sunday night in the church. What were we thinking?
Yeah.
Don't ever do that, anybody.
We had a big barbecue. And
We were
food
keen.
yeah.
This is a bit of a mystery to me, though. You're from Teesside originally, but you support Manchester United.
That's right.
What went wrong?
That's because my second cousin, and it is only a second cousin, we're not close, but his name is Gary Pallister. So some of you will remember him.
I do.
And he was the most expensive defender at the world at the time, 2.3 million. He went from Middlesbrough to Manchester United. So really, I grew up a Middlesbrough fan, but it's when we moved to Australia, because you couldn't see that the lower leagues, that's when I converted over 16 years ago to Manchester United. So I'm a bit of a turncoat, Steve.
I see. He was on the Question of Sport a few weeks ago.
Yeah, he's a very good player back in the day. He's
Yeah.
tall. Like I'm 6'5", he's 6'4.5".
Very good. Great. You just mentioned Australia then. Tell us how you ended up there. What was the story behind that?
Well, we'd been married about 3-4 years, and we've always had such a strong passion for the call of God, and also a feeling of what's next. We always wanted to be doing more, and I think we got to the stage where we wanted to see how to build a strong, significant church that could really impact a city and really impact a county and impact. So we wanted to find out where we could go to learn. So we looked at some different colleges. We looked at Christ for Nations in Dallas. We looked at quite a few. And then we had a friend it was Joyce and Mark
Wilkinson.
that are now in Berlin. They were friends of ours. They were there. So yeah, long story short, we decided Melody was 2 at the time. She's now 20. And we just up and left. We sold everything.
We went, and within a few weeks, we ended up miraculously actually on staff in Hillsong Church. So we were there for, in total, about 16 years. First in Sydney. Then when Brisbane came along, we were the only couple sent from Sydney to Brisbane. So it's there that we got to know Margaret Stunt and absolutely fell in love with her. I know a lot of your church know her. She's
I was speaking to her this week. She's always godly influence. But you know, if you find these people along the way, don't you, in life, that each time we've moved, that stay and become an integral part of your future. You know, some people are lifelong. And our time in Australia was really quite special. We were back in November last year for Steve's 50th birthday and got to see Melody, and we were able to preach in the church again, and we felt like those relationships are still so strong. It was a big deal for us stepping out of Hillsong to come back to Norwich. But the pastors and leaders there are so gracious, so loving. They stay in touch. That's great.
You've still got a daughter there then?
Yes.
How does that feel?
Right now, it's a challenge. As you would know, Angie, when you've got a girl that's away from home. Look, my natural tendency was to have her back here. Let's all isolate together. But they're about a week and a half behind us in Australia with the social isolation measures. So at the time, she was like, oh, I'm fine. I'm still going to work. And so she decided to stay because she's studying theology and she can do that online. She's got a job that she's 3 days a week, and a lot of her friends have lost their jobs, but she's stayed, works in insurance, and doing really well.
She's doing really well. So, you know, it's mixed feelings. You want to, I don't know about you guys, but when my daughter turned 18, I found that really difficult because up till then you're their protector, but to have to then release, I found that really difficult. Robert Ferguson, one of the things he said is if you try and hold them, they will go anyway. If you release them, they'll come back to you. I thought there's a lot of wisdom. It really helped us with that 18, 19 transition.
We've been talking to her most days, haven't we?
Right.
She's a darling.
We get that. Our Megan's only an hour away. She's only in London, but she wanted to do the same. She wanted to come, but then she was still working, and her husband was working. And then it was too late. The lockdown came. So it feels strange that she's so far away, but not as far as Australia. But social media is great, isn't it? FaceTime.
Thank God for it.
Yeah.
So you're only down the road from us here, really. Norwich isn't far away.
Yeah.
What's been the response there? Can you tell us about the church with the whole coronavirus stuff and what's been going on? How's the church responded? What's happening in the community with you?
Look, I think this is an incredible opportunity for the church. I think when things like this happen, people are really looking for hope. There's so much negativity because people are bombarded constantly through the media. So we really feel that the church has kind of risen up and it's been a voice of hope and a voice of connection. So we're seeing a phenomenal response. We're getting lots of good reports back. Obviously, we're only, 10 days in now? And my personal feeling is the first week was kind of people were enjoying the honeymoon of it. It's only this week we've started to see people feeling a bit more isolated, a bit more lonely. And that's when I think the church can really provide friendship, connection, hope. And it's exciting to see that happen.
Yeah, we've been doing a lot of the delivering food packages and being there for those that are particularly vulnerable at this season. But we've also found for our church in general that this is a time of really digging in deep to a relationship with God. So many times we can rely on church to give us a lift, and for many it's the social gathering that really helps. To not have that, we were talking this morning about the importance of being planted in the house of God and it will flourish. So we've been encouraging our church as much as we can through getting everyone to call, not just the vulnerable, but call their friends, call their teams, but for the church to call each other, because the church is so much more than a building. And just speak words of life and encouragement, but to encourage us as individuals to go to the secret place of just me and God, you know, pour out our hearts. It's a time where hurry has gone from our lives. Mind you, we've been quite busy, as we were saying earlier, but it's a good time, I think, for people to really dig deep to what's important.
How do you think things will change from here? What do you think lessons will be learnt, and what will the church look like, do you think, when we get back to normal, whatever normal might look like? There's some things learnt.
Steve, I heard a clip of you preaching on Instagram talking about shaking. And whenever you shake something, some of the dead stuff falls off. And I really do think that there's been a realignment, a recalibration of what's actually important in life. So when I look at the world before this virus, you know, you looked at politically, you looked at the gender fighting, infighting, you looked at Brexit. It felt like people were just tearing each other apart on social media. And I really feel, you know, you hear these stories now of kindness and community, people clapping in the streets. And I actually think the values that people are seeing as worth and value are things like kindness, generosity, forgiveness. And I think that is what the church brings to society. So if we can get that message out, if we can model that, then with all of this shaking, what's going to remain is the stuff that really counts. So that's the vibe I'm picking up.
Yeah, we've already found, so true, as we've already found that people that have maybe been on the fringes or would go to church, we call them the CEOs, you know, the Christmas and Easter onlys, and we love them and we know them and they're in connection with our church, but now they're connecting online every week and sometimes more often, the various different things that we're doing, and developing a stronger relationship with God. Even some of our nursery staff and others that are contacting us and saying, we really feel like now I'm in a stronger place with God than I ever have been. So I think that our churches can actually grow.
Absolutely.
In this
I'm
season.
looking forward to getting back and seeing not only the people I've missed, but all the new ones that are coming and the ones that I really think it'll be a growth point.
I know. How good will it be if everybody's been developing a relationship with God on their own and they come together? There's going to be a tangible feeling of faith and passion. We'll go through the roof.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to it.
Hey, do you know what? Our time is coming to an end. I know it seems to go quick, but we try to keep these fairly short and sharp. But maybe a couple more questions. One, Steve, you mentioned you saw Rachel first across the table tennis table, and I know table tennis has been a big issue in your life. How long have you had this addiction, and how do you think you're going to break free?
That and golf.
Yeah, I'm kind of I did have an addiction to table tennis. I used to play for Darlington Table Tennis Club back in the day. I've always been a...
You never told me that when
I kept it on the lowdown. I kept it on the lowdown. Under promise and over deliver.
When you didn't.
What was the score again?
Doesn't matter. Liverpool won the Premier League, that's all.
Yeah. Well, you hope they're going to win it.
No, we're not going to put this interview out if you go down that route. Well, never mind. You did beat me fair and square, not just once. I think it was 3 games to 2, wasn't it? Something like that.
It was a good competition, mate. You play a mean game.
And it was on his birthday as well.
It was.
I felt really bad.
And then he took us out for lunch afterwards. Very good loser.
Hey, if there was anything, we're not going to do it now, but the people watching, one thing we're really encouraged with is our church, the way they've responded in praying, and people. We've got a guy, Tim Creamer, who is in a very critical condition, and the church has just been behind praying, incredible. But we're widening that and praying for others. What could we pray for you guys for?
I think for Soul Church, that this is a critical time for churches, and I know churches like your church have really inspired us. You know, I've come away from conversations with you with great ideas and things that we've been able to implement here. I think if the churches can collectively, though, especially those churches that have strength, I think if we can continue to come together, encourage each other, pray for each other, that really this is a time for us to iron sharpen iron, for us to really be a lighthouse on a hill in our cities. So I think to pray for churches collectively to really shine the message of hope in Jesus, I think that's a really important thing.
And personally, for wisdom to navigate this season and say the right things at the right time to encourage our church. And I'm sad that Breathe had to be postponed. So prayer, I think, for people that various things that have been cancelled or changed to another time, I think just uniting in prayer that God will make it up to everybody, and it actually will genuinely work together for good. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your input into us as well, Angie and I, and into the church. We really do appreciate you. We're glad you came back from Australia.
Well, so are we.
Church here in the UK, and we need that. So great to have you around.
Yeah, it's an absolute honour, and we love you guys.
We do. We love you both, your family.
Thank you. We're going to end now, guys. So thank you all for watching. Thanks to Steve and Rachel Mawston. You'll see them online in the next few weeks.
Yeah.
And so great to have had you. Don't forget, we are
C3 wherever we are.
God bless.